2, 1. Ember live. Welcome everyone to the Ember podcast, episode 4. This time I'm here with Michael. Michael, say hi.
Hello.
So Michael is currently and has been for a while the vice chair of research. So just explain what you do, I guess.
Well, for a good while now, close to 2 years, did nothing but research either articles, newscasts, whichever came up as like a topic of choice. Documented it, cited it, cross-referenced it, and fact-checked most of what I could. Anything that was not completely thorough was either documented for later research, as well as anything that was finished and summarized was set for either topics for like the Ember or just the Ember Live. And basically just a repeat of that in various of other forms of research.
Sure, yeah. Hope we don't have any problems with the stream. If someone is listening and there is something wrong, say so, as always. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Uh, so, yeah, you have been here for a while. I mean, when did you actually join?
I don't know the exact date. I try not to memorize too much stuff like that in particular, but
Mm,
when it came right down to it, probably late 2 years ago. And
mm,
then
probably like a year and a half or something. I mean, will be actually next week will be the 2-year anniversary of the original Discord server. So,
I don't know if you want to count when I was still like working with everyone from the original main liberalist branch, but that was it. And then when I finally made it official and went straight on LIA was a good probably 8 to 9 months after that.
mm-hmm. uh, so you came in here like what was your first project you worked on?
It was the alt right and far left document. I was researching everything involving Bob Avakian, Sarah Taylor, Yvette Falaka, a few far left groups. There was
I mean,
one called New
those
Front.
names immediately go over my head, so extrapolate.
um, well, basically, both Yvette Falaka and Sarah Taylor and Bob Avakian are members of the Revolutionary Communist Party in BAM. Bob Avakian and Sarah specifically are Revolutionary Communist Party, while Yvette Falaka is head of, excuse me, basically of BAM. Well, I wouldn't say head, sorry, correction. Basically, those are their key little movements right there. You probably would know of Yvette Falaka from the UC fire bombing riots when Milo Yiannopoulos and a few other were going to go to UC Berkeley for just an invitation and just have a conversation and whatnot. And as a result, BAM and Antifa basically firebombed and Molotov cocktailed everything around that campus, as well as attacked anybody who came around trying to protest against them. And their reasons for arguing that was we were in self-defense against the fascists.
Yeah.
Um,
Gonna firebomb those people that well, even if you disagree with what they say, like you don't defend against there's nothing to defend yourself from in terms of speech, you know. I mean, you can defend yourself with words, and if you have to rely on violence, probably means that you have nothing to say.
yeah, well, like they said, violence is words. So I guess to them,
Mm,
Molotov cocktails are the peacekeeper. But yeah, um, that's when you'll probably hear about them. There's plenty of newscasts and reports about it back in when it happened a few years ago. Yvette Faloka just sat there smiling and smug, talking about how we defended ourselves against the fascists and we shut down the entire meetup. Thanks to us, Milo never showed up. And
Thanks to you, they weren't able to speak publicly, but instead probably speak privately, at least amongst each other.
yeah,
Made it more difficult to try to reason with these people, to try to convince them that they are wrong. Well, good job, good job. What I'm actually surprised to hear, it always surprises me, like how big of a problem Antifa is. Well, for example, in America, where you hear a lot about violence committed by them or by groups that well, don't call themselves Antifa, but just basically are it without the name. There was like this one group from I don't remember what they call themselves, but that's a great example. You have other examples of them here too, but here the worst they're gonna do is scream at somebody, right? So like I've been to a few of these protests myself last year, and I mean the worst thing that happened was a guy screaming pretty wrong shit at them. I can't remember what he was saying, but he was basically trying to agitate them, try to make them attack him, and well, they only began hurting, like throwing insults and threatening that guy as soon as 5 police officers were standing all around him, making sure he wouldn't be hurt, right? So they seem such a non-issue here. Uh, why are they such a problem? Like why do they seem to be able to get away with this shit?
to be honest, I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's at least a testament to how, with the Constitution in place, how much freedom people have. It's not a bad thing that people can actually have the right to protest as they do. The only thing is, it sucks when they decide to go a little step forward.
Sure, you have a
Um,
right to protest, but you don't have a right to wreck my
assault
property.
people.
Yeah, assault
Yeah,
people, wreck my property. That's not protesting. That's
I know.
rioting.
There are a lot of cases where you do have some situations where the far left are at least being somewhat civil, and then you'll have some random that just decides to basically act like a tough guy so he can brag about it
Mm-hmm.
later, taunt them and do whatever he can to get them riled up, and then suddenly this individual, be they man or woman, will just randomly run off after they start a big riot or whatever, and then just pretend as if they were just a random bystander. I don't know how constant and frequent that is, because you do have those cases where Antifa still won't care between them assaulting people and more. Let's take, for example, from December 17th, 2018. You had a situation. Well, I'm sorry. Uh, let's see. I'm going to try to find the exact date, but there was a situation during Proud Boys rally. Antifa decided to jump these two Marines. One of them was a Mexican. And the story, if you look it up, is I'm Mexican. Marines bewildered after being called Nazis and beat up by alleged Antifa mob.
I mean I've heard you've seen them calling Ben Shapiro Nazi too, right? And he's a Jew.
Yeah, I
Like
know, right? It's like, how progressive have we come?
yeah, I
but
guess you could say that.
but yeah, basically they ended up interrogating these two Marines, trying to find out overall if they were have any kind of affiliation with the Proud Boys. Long story short, one of them asked the Marines, "Are you proud?" And he was implying Proud Boys. The Marines basically go, "Yes, we're proud," but they meant we're proud to be a Marine and serve our country.
Sure.
So these guys didn't care. The moment they heard, yes, we're proud, they immediately started going at him, calling them every racial slur in the book, and
Mm-hmm.
beat the crap out of them. And the most that these Marines kept on yelling out, well, one of them said, "I'm a Mexican," because they started calling him a racist and everything else. And their whole shtick was basically, well, we thought they were Proud Boys.
Yeah, and even then, that's not an excuse to fight someone, right?
Not at all. It didn't help also when the guy yelled out on Mexican, and the quote was, he was bewildered. Godinez, I can't pronounce his last name, said he shouted while being attacked and called a white supremacist. I'm
Oh, I guess
actually reading the article as we go.
Oh, they say that you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist, of course, and that they're. I've heard the phrase Uncle Tom said too at protests to people, like clips.
Yeah. You have a lot of situations like that, like what happened with the Covington kids. That was like insane when you saw those black Israelites. I forgot
Yeah,
the whole name of them, basically cursing out that little black kid that was in their group just because he disagreed with them. And they got vicious with them, but you didn't see CNN or anyone covering that.
didn't what was his name again? Michael Covington or something?
No. Nick Sandman.
Nick Sandman. Don't know who
Yeah,
I'm
that's
confusing it with, but didn't he win a lawsuit against CNN?
he is currently in the process. I didn't read it thoroughly. I do know that he's basically on that cusp. They're still trying to move it towards discovery to see how far it went. And if that gets pushed through, I don't know what may happen. It will definitely set a nice precedent, though, if they can actually move to discovery and find out what was said in emails,
No,
private conversations, and more.
they settled the lawsuit 5 days ago.
Nice. I still love it when I read those words.
Well, maybe it would have been preferable to actually see it in court, but good for him at least. Like it was ridiculous. It even was in the Dutch news, and why why would that be in the Dutch news?
Well, I think it would set a nice precedent, and I think no matter what, it's like if you hear something drastic happen across some other country. Even if you as an individual don't find that fascinating, you'll still have a situation where many others will look at that and be like, how much can this one organization such as CNN get away with without having to fact check and back up their claims?
No, I
And
mean CNN. Well, the National Broadcast Service, the NOS, they basically copied the story from. I think they. I don't know if they used BuzzFeed as a source for that. I know they've used BuzzFeed News in the past as a source and have been ridiculed for it. I mean, normally they don't even provide sources, so them at least being honest about it is nice. But yeah, they immediately ran the story here without checking anything, and even if the story was true, I mean, some dude being. Even if it was the worst case scenario, I still don't think it's relevant for Dutch people.
it isn't, but again, when you have a situation where someone can just simply log into Twitter and then cause a big amount of issues just from that alone, it does make sense why some people would take interest in it. I mean, at the time when that entire
Sure,
situation
sure.
happened, like at the late 2018, you had people like celebrities and more saying, we need to dox these kids, we need to do this, we need to do that.
Yeah, I
You
see
had,
that.
so naturally, when you're seeing that kind of escalation go into play on regular teenagers, kids that aren't even out of their house yet, and more, you can't blame the curiosity other people would have, especially if at the time people were getting away with it.
I think it was like a perfect example of how every news company is just trying to beat each other at the story for clicks, and because of that, because the story needs to be out there right now, because if you wait and try to get the full story, someone else would already have written an article, and well, the first article gets has the highest chance of getting the most clicks, right? So it's I also don't know how to how you would go about solving that issue. I guess if I were running a news company, I would try to find a way of not relying purely on clicks. It's also not a problem that has been that's just a problem of the internet because, well, it used to happen too, right? Like try to make the most offensive headline on the newspaper so people will be interested in what it says and buy it. It's nothing new, but it seems like it's gotten worse.
I would agree with you on that to an extent, but it all varies. I mean, it's not a problem over having like a bias flair to anything as long as you at least have it factually checked. Uh, my main thing is what I like to explain to people is I start off unbiased as possible, and then I only get biased if you make it easy to be. When I state it like that, I'm referring to the factor that I will start off just presuming that you're going to be just a complete blank slate, and then you're going to have to decide on how I'm going to view you as things go on. But then I am willing to shift that at any pin drop, meaning just like with the news, as things develop and the story progresses, you're going to go from one factor to the next. So if you make it easy for me to think you're smart, I'm going to think, oh, well, he clearly can comprehend things in more ways than one. But then the moment I feel like asking you 2 + 2 will have you scratching your head, I'm going to be like, maybe they're challenged. And then that will just shift and change as time goes on. But I make sure I always try to keep that like a swivel where it just shifts and turns. When it comes down to the newscasts, you're going to have a lot of people factoring in that, and they're naturally going to want to be building up stuff like with Trump's impeachment. You have a lot of situations where people are fixating on what they want to be true versus what they are backing up.
I mean,
And you don't
I
see
saw a really good clip recently about the news and them saying it's gonna be oh, we're finally gonna get Trump now. This is gonna be his demise. This is gonna be like just month after month, example after. Okay, guys, this is it. I don't remember the exact wording they constantly used. English.
I'm not sure if I've seen it either, but I have been seeing that regularly. My family in particular have been watching the news left and right, so I'm always seeing it something about the how that entire fiasco is going on. And then I randomly pull up either news articles or hit up a few people that have been watching other things. Next thing I know, I am learning about how stuff are going on, and slam bam, thank you, ma'am. It's still the same old crap. You don't really see too much being proven, though. One thing that I really
Yeah.
liked is everyone stated if they really want to go for that entire impeachment, why isn't Trump, being impeached then? No one's bringing up that golden goose of proof against him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if there truly was something so horrific you would impeach a president for, I mean that's not a light thing to do. You know, that's only in the worst case scenario. Like I wouldn't expect Republicans to still support the dude. If it truly was so horrific, I think Nancy Pelosi could have given the documents to the Senate to have them decide. But yeah, right now she's holding it back because I think she said she's not convinced they'll be able to give a fair trial.
I mean, that depends on how she's going about being fair. When you're looking at how they held one guy there for days on end, just interviewing him, asking him the same exact questions that he keeps answering the same exact way, at that point, they're already proving that his stories remain inconsistent, and they still had the habit of constantly making this guy come in. I can't remember his name. I think he was like some kind of military man. I have to actually look that up now. I'm gonna try to pull it up. But I remember he even brought in like a thing of chicken and just sat there eating, and they just made it seem like it was such an unprofessional event that he grabbed himself some food. And
Well, no,
maybe it was.
if you're gonna be interviewed for however many hours, you need to eat.
Yeah, but I mean, according to them, they thought of it as like a bad joke, and he's just sitting there being like, I
I'm
forgot what he said.
hungry. Well, you,
No, he actually got smart with them. Like he got a little sarcastic. I forgot what he said though. I don't want to like ruin what he said because it had me even laughing a bit because he was just
mm.
quick to the tongue.
Oh, you know, you can't respond properly if you're hungry. Uh, let the guy eat. I would say, like, I personally, I'm not quickly insulted as it goes about things like that. You know.
Yeah. All right, found the actual guy. Corey Lewandowski. I didn't find the exact clip where he did it, but I'll send it to you just for kicks, just in case if you ever want to like fact check it. But this individual right here basically just rocked it when he just ended up getting so frustrated. They had him come in for days, nonstop, just for this inquiry. And it's like, at some point, if he's not going to change his answers after you grill him for hours on end, for free, mind you, what else are you planning on getting? That's when you're either shifting to the next witness or whoever else you need to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
In
I
some
mean, and
ways,
again in the Dutch news, it seems, I mean, biased, uh, just plain bias. You know,
mhm.
it's really obvious here that our journalists just hate Trump, hate everything he does, and when possible, they'll always try to take the side of the other party. And I mean, you could even see it with the case of that Iranian general. What was his name again? Khashoggi?
That I'm not sure.
Well, them here, like in the news, they said he. I couldn't properly translate it right now, but basically put it down like, okay, yeah, he might not be that good of a guy, but people support him, and well, they primarily focused on the support he gets from the people, even though a large percentage of the country thought he was the devil incarnate, and is probably very happy about what Trump has done. And uh, I mean, I get why you would say, yeah, let's try not to escalate things, but we're talking about a dude who has like plenty of American deaths on his hands, right? And like even broader than that, uh, the protest currently going on in Iran against the government, like it's been fairly well, it's been really violent. I heard people saying 2,000 protester deaths, and I mean that's probably way over the line, you know, but it's pretty clear. I think we have enough proof that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard is killing well their own citizens, and that's not something at least I want to stand for. And the the push always needs to come from the populace. You know, you can't just go into a country, do a regime change, and expect everything to be fine. But I'm torn on it. I probably would say it was the right decision.
I mean, I'm not gonna deny I wouldn't like escalation either, but I mean, you have to keep in mind too. This is also looking bad on them as in more ways than one because you have a situation now. Because I mean, let's be honest, you do have war that provides a good amount of fundamental value to those who can gain something from it. So when you're seeing this kind of escalation, and
Mm-hmm.
now not only are you providing a moral reason to go at you, you're also providing people opportunity to go at you
Oh
in the
yeah,
most of these.
I think we need to be extremely critical of all the claims that are made. When the
Yeah.
story first came out about Iran probably shooting down the Ukrainian plane, I was like, yeah, the news seems to be coming from the Americans. They have a track record of false news to invade other countries, right? The weapons of mass destruction. What was
Well, I
his
mean,
name again? Had
George Bush.
yeah, the other guy, the guy from Iran,
Oh, there was
Iraq.
Saddam, and then there was
Yeah,
Osama bin Laden.
I meant Saddam, like them saying, yeah, weapons of mass destruction. Luckily, well, Iran has uh, said, yeah, it was us, but it's only the fault of this one dude, and it's the fault of America. I mean, at least they confirmed that they did it. I don't think they took any blame for it.
They even tried covering that up at one point. I was reading about that
Mm-hmm.
being reported. uh, I mean, but you also had some newscasters like take Tucker Carlson from Fox. He was actually arguing against escalation. So you do have a lot of people trying to counterbalance it, even from the most one-sided sides. It's not hard to be, sensible about it. And the only trick is not many people will be. But it does happen. But
Mm-hmm.
it's still not gonna lie, even if they want to blame it on that, no one's talking about when that same guy that started all of this, that Trump bombed. They didn't talk about how he tried to burn down the U.S. embassy to the point where the Marines had to surround the place and protect it.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
was literally before that point. It's like, how many stones do you think someone's going to take before they throw back?
I've also seen the meme circulating of like they've done this. Trump has tried to de-escalate. They've done this. Uh, Muting you for a second there. Holy shit. The wind. Um, can't. Whoa. Kind of got my point. Well, yeah. There was this meme, and it's like stuff Iran did. Trump tried to de-escalate. Another thing, tried to de-escalate. There is a moment where you have to realize that, well, maybe de-escalation isn't the right approach. Maybe you actually need to do something. Well, at least appeasing them it isn't always the right decision. That's something we've learned with tyrants, right?
Well, that's what you're going to always have. That's why I stated this, if anything, is just providing moral support and opportunity support for those who may want to just jump in for that. I mean, I remember hearing the phrase that the reason why people like doing business with Iran so much is because they pay in cash. So I don't see many reasons why, let's just say someone just wants to make an excuse why they wouldn't. Because now you have this same situation where the escalation was happening from their side. And yes, it goes back and forth. You still have it set to where one side's at least less easy to hate on, while the other one's getting to the point where their own citizens are protesting while they're getting shot left and right. I'm not going to see too much of people pushing more on against America unless they just have a big hate boner for it versus what they would say and do towards Iran when you're looking at what they have been on. And the plus side is you have their own citizens that would be in support of that depending on what is happening at that current time. And when you
Sure.
make it that easy to hate on you, you're gonna make it easier for people to hate you further.
Mm-hmm. So from that point, I think we kind of finished up there.
Okay,
Pull it back to LIA talk. So
Sure.
What was your favorite project to work on until now?
To be honest, it was never really a favorite one, but I have to say the one I had the most fun in was when we were doing one project, and it was involving making documentation of organizations and groups that are politically aligned in anything. It wasn't like limited to just one little bubble. And I was researching things about communist groups in America and more. And the thing that made it fun for me was when I found out there was a communist group in Canada that sold shoes. And I remember I
Okay.
was even showing it to one of the chairs at the time. And I was just asking him, doesn't this look a little funny? I mean, they're all about not making business and not being capitalists. They don't want to even gain capital, and they're selling Reebok.
Yeah, that sounds peculiar to me, at least.
I mean, that's like saying a Catholic priest is sitting there chilling at the altar, and then randomly just saying to everybody in the entire room, "So who wants to go listen to some Black Sabbath?" I mean, I'm sure there's some that do, but I mean, then he just see him pull out a pentagram and just slams it right on the table and be like, "Oh, this is unexpected. Someone drank a little too much of Jesus's blood." But yeah, that was probably a good fun project for me. I say probably, but I mean yes, it is. Anything else was just more so just advancement. Whenever I did any kind of project in particular, I enjoyed the like stuff that I would look up into and learn about. Then the people I would talk to that would either chime in every now and then to help or more. It was like a growing experience. I mean, even now, due to the stuff that I've researched up to now and the associations that I had between one project to the next, and even talking to people from LIA and anyone else from the Liberalists, got currently a better job now, one that I can actually make more money just from associating with people. So now you're adding in skills and trades and traits in general that just improve someone to the point where now they can increase their hourly wages just by doing what I'm doing now. The only difference is now I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah,
So
comment here. Why are you streaming if no one is watching? Wouldn't call for people no one, because we hope people watch, and well, it gets like 30 views usually after streaming. But very good question there. Oh, and I enjoy it. Else I wouldn't be doing it. I mean that's great indeed, and I've seen a lot of people just helping each other out here, and that's great. I mean, the best way to improve the world is one individual at a time, right?
that I agree.
Beginning with yourself, and in the words of well Jordan Peterson, if you have your room in order, you can try to help other people. And well, that's great.
Aside from that, though, I have to say, I basically liked any kind of major learning experience that I ever got. Beyond that, just mostly paying attention to what you guys do normally and seeing what you guys are researching next whenever you guys do anything.
I mean, research has always been well per person a really busy team for us, right? Hasn't always had the best results in actual output, but uh, well, take the liberal archive for example. We've tried to work on it's. I currently have very little space on my computer because my hard drive crashed and I only got a small SSD, so I have to be so specific with data. I can't have those documents on my computer because it's too big. It's like 200 documents or something crazy like that.
Yeah, but
And
at the same time, though, you still have lots of content just from that alone.
mm-hmm.
I could see,
and
for example,
like I was currently like yesterday I was editing an article with orange team about a protest he went to. That will be going up somewhere around, hopefully Monday, if not Tuesday. So that will be nice having an article up in the Ember again after a long while. But yeah, even then, I wanted to name some examples of hate speech laws in the European Union, and well, believe me, there are plenty of examples for that. So just quickly ask someone, hey, do you have some good examples for me? And like, literally, the comment I got was, "Ah, yes, sec," and after that, got it. So that's great for me, not having to research that stuff myself and just being able to focus on activism.
See, I agree with that. One major detail I like out of all the documentation everyone has is we do have a lot of situations where if you guys wanted to publish more, we get more people involved, you're gonna have a lot more articles that you guys can post out there.
Sure,
I actually ran.
especially well, if you don't have an idea, you can literally come to me, and over the last little while I've been writing down interesting article ideas, and I'm really not a writer myself. uh, I should do it more often to get a little bit better at it, but ideas are fine, and like, even if you have an idea, you can ask around, and someone will probably have someone on it. And if you don't have an idea, you could also just take a look in the, well, again, literally hundreds of examples of illiberal bullshit.
Yeah, but even so, we would like take when Rembo and everyone was doing the economic studies. I still like checking out those videos every now and then just because I enjoyed how much thought went into them, as well as how things were cited and described. So when you have that kind of thing going around, that's pretty basically just at least something fluent. Makes it easy to actually pay attention, but not too long, not too short. I even ran into a school teacher, and she
Right,
actually wants to get
right.
involved,
Yeah, I heard
and she actually wants to.
we scared her a bit off by being too enthusiastic or something.
Actually, no, 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 no. She still wanted to be involved. She wasn't sure. Her only thing is she wants to tutor me a bit because she likes how I document stuff, but she wants
Hmm.
me to improve upon it. I just need to give her time and a place, and she says she'll just start working through things with me, and then she wants to maybe contribute a bit. I'm not sure what she wants to do. She has a lot of good potential, and she's very precise with how she does things. She gives me a run for my money when it comes down to citing stuff and basically even debates. So it turns into a big, challenging moment for me. Beyond that, though, she's very consistent, very ambitious, and even when she teaches her class, those kids are basically way above their grade now. I don't know if like 2 or 3 grades above is really that high up, but it's still better than them being only at the level that they should be.
Oh, it's better than them being below the level that they should be, which I mean, I haven't heard a lot of positive things about the American education system.
It depends on where you go. There's actually someone that I ran into from, I mean, I don't know if you want to consider them LIA or anything else, but there is someone I've been talking to that is from the server, and she goes to college in California, and she personally thinks of it as like a cancer. And when I asked why, she showed me one of her like study projects, and while she's trying to major in nuclear physics, she basically had to take a social justice kind of class. I say kind of, so don't quote me. But mm-hmm. Well, academics. Yeah, well, this girl was showing me one project she had to do, and she had to open up I forgot what it was. It was a link that the teachers gave her. The project was discussing how people can be gender fluid and whatnot. Again, don't quote me. I'm just summarizing at this. And she showed me the piece that she had to research, and it was basically, I think it was like a kid that was between 5 to 7 years old, and this kid was educating professors and more on how you can be gender neutral and how a boy can be a girl and more, and explaining how this is a factual thing. And she had to do a report about that. Well, her main thing is she just didn't like how it came off. She said she felt like that was kind of exploiting the kid, especially when like professors are literally just using this to just extend her classes and more for this kind of research. Now, when it came right down to it, I asked her, how much of your classes are based on this kind of like project? And how much is this going towards your student loan? And she explained to me in grave detail about how she basically hates it because it is most of her classes. She even told me she got to the point where she has glasses
Really?
and she just takes them off. Yeah. She explained to me how she took her eyeglasses off every time she walks through the halls because you'll see posts about hating on ice and you'll see Antifa brands and more. I'm like literally looking at it and like reading what she's showing me. And she even showed me pictures of what goes on through the halls of her school. And I'm just saying to myself, this is pretty sketchy. And the most she could tell me is, I just consider it like tumors part of the cancer.
Well, I guess that is one advantage of having poor eyesight, and as someone with good eyesight, wow, that's a shame.
Yeah, she openly
I
says
guess I
after
could
she
just
finishes.
wear glasses, to distort the bullshit. That's a good tip.
Yeah, she says she's gonna literally just leave California the moment she finishes.
Oh
She
yeah,
does
I would
not
do
want
the
to stay
same.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that basically goes. I mean, when you have schools like that, I understand where you get the judgment calls that you hear, but I mean, I still hear there are some good schools. It just depends on what people want to aim for. It's not so much that you have stuff like that social division. It's the issue is when you try to force that and implement that on others. Because I mean, it's no different from when you dislike somebody. It's one thing if they're hard to ignore, but if you don't have to wake up to them every morning, it's not that big of an issue. It is when you're constantly getting it brought up and shoved in your face, especially when people make it hard to even address it. But then again, if you're not waking up next to those people 24/7 and those people are making it hard to notice them, it's very easy to shut things down and ignore it.
Sure. And on that note, we've been streaming for 45 minutes now, so probably gonna end it off.
No problem.
Well, yeah, thank you for showing up. And
Anytime, man.
yeah, and if someone is interested in joining, links are down below. You can also subscribe, do stuff like that, and well, till next time.